Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
The pursuit of justice frequently encounters a formidable obstacle, a perceived chasm separating the detached logic of legal adjudication from the profoundly human realms of emotion and imagination. Martha Nussbaum's Poetic Justice, the Literary Imagination and Public Life, published in 1996, directly confronts this division, proposing a necessary synthesis. Nussbaum posits that cultivating what she terms the literary imagination is not merely a desirable attribute but a crucial prerequisite for informed, ethical, and equitable decision-making within legal and political frameworks. This faculty, characterized by the capacity to empathize deeply with and comprehend the diverse perspectives inhabiting our society, becomes, in Nussbaum's analysis, an indispensable tool for navigating the labyrinthine complexities of A central argument challenges the prevailing rationalist paradigms that have long dominated legal and political thought. These paradigms, she contends, often prove inadequate in their attempts to grapple with the multifaceted nature of human experience, particularly the pervasive realities of suffering and injustice. By prioritizing abstract principles and logical deductions, rationalist approaches risk overlooking the individual stories, the nuanced contexts, and the emotional weight that intricately shape human lives and inform moral judgments. Poetic Justice advances an interdisciplinary methodology, weaving together insights from philosophy, literary theory, and legal studies to construct a robust and compelling case for the centrality of imagination in the pursuit of justice. Throughout the book, Nussbaum employs specific literary examples designed to illustrate the power of narrative and empathy in shaping moral reasoning. Charles Dickens' Hard Times, for instance, serves as a recurring touchstone, providing a concrete and emotionally resonant illustration of the human costs associated with abstract economic policies and the dangers of divorcing intellectual pursuits from moral considerations. These literary explorations are not tangential embellishments, they constitute an integral part of Nussbaum's argument, demonstrating how literature can cultivate the capacity for moral discernment and challenge the dehumanizing tendencies of purely rationalistic. This essay will undertake a critical examination of Nussbaum's central claims in Poetic Justice, meticulously analysing her proposed solutions for bridging the gap between legal reasoning and the literary imagination, and assessing the book's enduring impact on legal and political discourse. The analysis will proceed in 3 distinct sections. The first section will delve into the core problem that Poetic Justice addresses, establishing the central thesis that the literary imagination is essential for achieving true justice. The second section will explore Nussbaum's proposed solutions and methodologies for integrating this vital faculty into public life, examining how she envisions practical changes in legal education and political discourse. Finally, the third section will evaluate the book's reception, its subsequent influence on legal and political thought, and its continuing relevance in contemporary debates about justice and empathy. Underlying Nussbaum's argument is a profound debt to Aristotelian ethics, particularly the concept of phronesis, often translated as practical wisdom or prudence. Phronesis, in Aristotle's framework, represents a form of ethical reasoning that transcends the application of abstract rules, emphasizing the importance of contextual understanding, emotional intelligence, and the ability to discern the appropriate course of action in specific circumstances. Nussbaum draws heavily upon this Aristotelian notion to argue that just decision-making requires more than mere adherence to legal principles. It demands a cultivated capacity for empathy, imagination, and the ability to appreciate the unique circumstances and perspectives of all those affected by legal and political decisions. At the heart of Poetic Justice lie several core, interconnected claims. The first asserts the literary imagination is fundamentally essential for just decision-making, serving as a crucial corrective to the limitations of purely rationalistic approaches. Second, Nussbaum argues that traditional rationalist approaches to justice are inherently insufficient, often failing to account for the complexities of human experience and the pervasive realities of social inequality. Third, she contends that literature possesses a unique capacity to cultivate empathy and understanding of diverse perspectives, providing a powerful means of bridging the divides at separate individuals and communities. Fourth, Nussbaum challenges the conventional view of emotions as irrational distractions, arguing that they are, in fact, crucial components of moral reasoning, providing valuable insights into the needs, concerns and vulnerabilities of the book's modern relevance is particularly evident in the increasing emphasis on empathy, social justice, and inclusive governance in contemporary legal and political discourse as societies grapple with issues of inequality, discrimination, and systemic injustice. Nussbaum's work provides a compelling philosophical framework for understanding the critical importance of these values. By emphasizing the role of the literary imagination in cultivating empathy and promoting understanding, Poetic Justice offers a powerful vision of a more just, compassionate, and equitable society. Nussbaum's intellectual lineage can be traced back to Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, which provides a foundational philosophical framework for her emphasis on phronesis and the importance of emotions in moral reasoning. She also draws inspiration from the works of legal realists such as Benjamin Cardozo, who challenged the notion of law as a purely objective and deductive system, emphasizing the role of judicial discretion, social context, and practical considerations in legal decision-making. These influences inform Nussbaum's critique of legal formalism and her call for a more humanistic and empathetic approach. The work does also have an emphasis on claims of how the literary imagination is essential for just decision-making, how literature cultivates empathy, how traditional rationalist approaches are insufficient, and how emotions are crucial for moral reasoning. These claims are very bold in their approaches. Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics and the works of legal realists such as Benjamin Cardozo provided insight. Nussbaum used this to develop a framework that shows the importance of emotions and empathy in moral reasoning. The book continues to have an influence and modern relevance with increasing emphasis on empathy and social justice in contemporary legal and political discourse. Nussbaum's work and philosophical framework provides a vital point to understand the importance of these values. In Poetic Justice, Martha Nussbaum champions the integration of the literary imagination into public life, outlining specific methodologies for reshaping legal education and political discourse. At the core of her argument lies the concept of narrative imagination, which she defines as the ability to understand and appreciate the experiences and perspectives of others, particularly those marginalized or disadvantaged. Nussbaum contends that this capacity is crucial for fostering empathy and promoting social justice, as it allows us to recognize the shared humanity of individuals who might otherwise be treated as abstract categories or statistics. Nussbaum draws heavily on specific literary examples to illustrate the power of literature to cultivate empathy and challenge dominant narratives. Charles Dickens' Hard Times receives particular attention, serving as a case study of how literature can expose the human costs of abstract economic policies. Through Dickens' vivid portrayal of the fictional town of Coketown, Nussbaum argues readers gain a visceral understanding of the suffering inflicted upon the working class. Our utilitarian philosophies that prioritize efficiency and productivity over human well-being. The novel allows readers to see beyond the surface of economic data and engage with the lived experiences of those affected by these policies. This engagement, Nussbaum suggests, is essential for informed and ethical decision-making in the public. Her approach leverages the capabilities approach to justice, a framework developed by Amartya Sen, emphasizing the importance of ensuring that all individuals have the opportunity to live flourishing lives. Nussbaum argues that the literary imagination is vital for understanding and addressing systemic inequalities that prevent individuals from achieving their full potential. By immersing ourselves in the narratives of others, we can become more aware of the barriers they face and develop a deeper commitment to creating a more just and equitable society. This capabilities approach moves beyond mere equality of opportunity, instead promoting the idea that society must ensure individuals attain the means to lead meaningful lives. Nussbaum proposes concrete mechanisms for fostering a literary imagination, particularly within the context of legal education. She advocates for incorporating literature and narrative into law school curricula, arguing that this will help students develop the emotional intelligence and moral sensitivity necessary for ethical legal practice, rather than relying solely on traditional legal formalism and positivism, which emphasize abstract rules and principles. Nussbaum suggests that law schools should encourage students to engage with the social and human consequences of their decisions. To achieve this, Nussbaum proposes several specific pedagogical strategies. These include requiring law students to read novels, short stories, and plays that explore themes of justice, equality, and human dignity. She also suggests incorporating narrative exercises into legal writing and advocacy courses, challenging students to craft compelling arguments that resonate with jurors and judges on an emotional level. Moreover, Nussbaum advocates for creating opportunities for law students to interact directly with marginalized communities, allowing them to gain first-hand experience of the challenges faced by those who are often excluded from the legal system. Nussbaum's approach challenges traditional legal formalism, which she critiques for its excessive reliance on abstract rules and principles. She argues that this approach often blinds lawyers and judges to the social and human consequences of their decisions, leading to unjust outcomes. By contrast, Nussbaum proposes a more humanistic and empathetic approach to law, one that takes into account the complex emotional and social dimensions of legal disputes. This requires lawyers and judges to cultivate their narrative imagination, allowing them to fully appreciate the perspectives of all parties involved and make decisions that promote justice and human flourishing. Nussbaum also challenges legal positivism, which asserts that law is simply a system of rules created by human beings, independent of any moral or ethical considerations. She argues that this view is fundamentally flawed, as it ignores the inherent moral dimensions of law. Nussbaum contends that law should be grounded in a commitment to human dignity and social justice, and that legal decision-making should be guided by principles of fairness, equality, and compassion. This requires lawyers and judges to engage with the ethical implications of their work and to strive to create a legal system that truly serves the interests of all members of society. Her methodologies include literary analysis to demonstrate the power of narrative in shaping moral understanding. Philosophical argumentation defends the importance of emotions and empathy in moral reasoning. Case studies of legal and political decisions to illustrate the practical implications of her theory. An application of the capabilities approach to argue for a more just and equitable society. Amartya Sen's capabilities approach exerted a direct influence on this work, shaping Nussbaum's framing of justice, the potential for sentimentalism in legal reasoning and the challenges of objectively assessing emotional responses also influenced this. These critiques underscore the need for careful and nuanced application of literary insights in legal and political contexts. Nussbaum's emphasis on empathy and narrative imagination remains highly relevant to contemporary debates about social justice and inequality, and insights can inform efforts to promote more inclusive and compassionate legal and political systems. Legal scholars advocating for a more humanistic approach to law, including those in critical race theory and feminist legal theory, continue to build on Nussbaum's work. The ongoing emphasis on values in legal and political discourse reinforces the continued relevance of her philosophical framework. Poetic Justice sparked considerable debate and exerted a palpable influence on legal and political thought, prompting a re-evaluation of the role of emotions and the literary imagination in shaping our understanding of justice. Its central thesis, advocating for the cultivation of empathy through literary engagement as a means to promote a more just and equitable society, was met with both enthusiasm and skepticism. One primary area of concern revolved around the potential for sentimentalism in legal reasoning. Critics argued that an over-reliance on emotional responses could lead to biased or irrational judgments, undermining the principles of objectivity and impartiality that are foundational to the legal system. Concerns were raised about the difficulty of objectively assessing the validity of emotional responses and the possibility that personal biases or cultural preconceptions could unduly influence the interpretation of literary narratives. The work of psychologists like Paul Ekman on the science of emotions provided context to this. Furthermore, some scholars expressed apprehension about the potential for the literary imagination to be manipulated or used to justify unjust outcomes. They cautioned that narratives, even those intended to promote empathy, could be strategically crafted to evoke specific emotions and sway public opinion in ways that serve particular interests, regardless of the actual fairness or justice of the situation. This critique underscores the necessity for a careful and nuanced application of literary insights in legal and political contexts, emphasizing the importance of critical thinking and rigorous analysis to guard against manipulation. Amartya Sen's capabilities approach exerted a direct influence on this work, shaping Nussbaum's framing of justice as the expansion of individuals' real freedoms and opportunities to live flourishing lives. Nussbaum draws upon the capabilities approach to advocate for a more just and equitable society, one that places value on empathy, compassion, a recognition of the inherent dignity of every human. Despite these criticisms, Poetic Justice has had a lasting impact on legal education, political discourse, and the broader understanding of justice, profoundly influencing the development of critical race theory, feminist legal theory, and related fields that emphasize the importance of empathy and social justice. The book's influence can be observed in the growing number of law schools that incorporate literature and narrative into the curricula, aiming to cultivate students' capacity for empathy and moral reasoning. Legal scholars advocating for a more humanistic approach to law, including those working within critical race theory and feminist legal theory, continue to build upon Nussbaum's work, employing it to address issues of race, gender, and social justice. Nussbaum's emphasis on empathy and narrative imagination remains highly relevant to contemporary debates about social justice and inequality, informing efforts to promote more inclusive and compassionate legal and political systems. The arguments presented in Poetic Justice have been applied in specific legal and political contexts, shaping debates about immigration, poverty, human rights, and other pressing social issues. The book's emphasis on empathy and moral imagination has been used to challenge discriminatory laws and policies, and to advocate for more humane and compassionate approaches to governance. The potential for sentimentalism in legal reasoning and the challenges of objectively assessing emotional responses also influenced this, with critiques underscoring the need for careful and nuanced application of literary insights in legal and political contexts. The ongoing emphasis on values in legal and political discourse reinforces the continued relevance of her philosophical framework. The book has also influenced the development of novel approaches to legal education that emphasize the significance of empathy and narrative, as exemplified by the increasing number of law schools incorporating literature and narrative into their curricula. This shift reflects a growing recognition of the limitations of purely rationalistic approaches to law and the importance of cultivating students' capacity for empathy and moral reasoning. Scholars who have applied Nussbaum's ideas to specific legal and political arenas, notably those working on human rights, immigration, and social justice, demonstrate the extent of the book's reach. Her analysis offers a powerful framework for understanding and addressing some of the most pressing challenges facing society today. In light of contemporary challenges such as political polarization, social inequality, and the rise of populism, Poetic Justice retains its modern relevance, prompting us to scrutinize the correlation between reason, emotion, and justice, and to cultivate the literary imagination as a crucial tool for building a more just and compassionate society. Nussbaum's emphasis on empathy and moral imagination provides critical resources for navigating these complex and divisive issues, and for fostering greater understanding and solidarity across different groups and perspectives. The lasting impact of Poetic Justice lies in its success in legitimizing the role of emotions and empathy in legal and political discourse, by demonstrating the unique capacity of literature to cultivate empathy and promote moral understanding. Nussbaum has challenged traditional assumptions about the nature of law and politics, and has opened up new avenues for critical inquiry and social change. In conclusion, Martha Nussbaum's Poetic Justice stands as a landmark work that has indelibly shaped contemporary legal and political thought. While the book has faced its share of criticism, its enduring legacy lies in its capacity to challenge us to rethink the relationship between reason, emotion, and justice, and to cultivate the literary imagination as a crucial tool for building a more just and compassionate society. Its insights continue to resonate across diverse academic disciplines and practical contexts, making it an essential resource for anyone seeking to understand and address the complex moral and political challenges of our time.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.